The Innovators Network.
Welcome to the Killer Innovation Show, the longest continuously produced podcast in history. Each week, Phil McKinney brings you the insights and strategies to amplify your creativity and innovation skills. Here's your host, Phil McKinney.
Hello and welcome. I'm Phil McKinney. This week, we are reaching deep into the archive and bringing you one of our most downloaded shows. Enjoy.
This episode is sponsored by Zoom. With Zoom, you can streamline your communication, collaboration, and creativity all in one place. Zoom is the market-leading platform that provides video meetings, voice, webinars, and chat across desktops, phones, tablets, and conference room systems. To learn more about Zoom and sign up for your free account, visit killerinnovations.com/Zoom.
Welcome to Killer Innovations. I'm your host, Phil McKinney. As many of you know, I teach a course called the Innovation Bootcamp. Now, I created this course probably a decade ago. I teach it 2 to 3 times a year, primarily in Silicon Valley, but I've actually got one coming up here in October here in Colorado. This is a 4-day course, so it's, really 3.5, but it bleeds over lots of times, so we call it a 4-day course, and it goes for 12 hours a day. It is truly a boot camp. It is pretty intense. Now, the objective for this course is to build the innovation confidence of the students, and we limit the class size to a maximum of 12 students per course. Now, 12, we go to 16, but it's really, we want to limit it to basically teams of 4 people working on projects throughout the course. Now, one common request that students have asked me over and over again, and also organizations that have sent people to take this course, they've asked for a 1-day version that they could take back to their organization and use with their teams there. Now, trying to take something that takes 4 days, 12-hour days, and squeeze it into one 8-hour day has been pretty daunting. And I spent the last year reworking the content and created a 1-day version of what we are calling the Disruptive Ideation Workshop. Now, it's completely different from the boot camp, because the boot camp, we spend a lot of time in doing exercises, and we include teaching things like prototype building, both physical devices, but also how do you run experiments, etc. So it's not just the same material squeezed down in time. We had to pull things out. Now, in this case, this 1-day workshop not only teaches a disruptive approach to generating more and better ideas, all built around the FIRE method, and that generates disruptive ideas throughout the workshop. The objective here is not just to teach, but to use this 1-day workshop so that you learn the skill, apply it, and at the end, have a pipeline of ideas that feed into the organization. Now, while we've taken literally hundreds of students through the boot camp, we've seen the impact of the 4-day course, and we needed to test to see if a 1-day workshop could have a similar high-impact results. So, 2 weeks ago, we tested the workshop with a class of 25 senior leaders from a single organization, and I can tell you that the results far exceeded everyone's expectations. Now, I was even a little surprised about the impact, because I was a little skeptical of could you put everything into a single day, and could you craft a training course, a workshop, whatever term you want to use, that could have high impact. Now, these students had zero background in innovation. They had never taken a previous course, and they rated low on their individual, what we call the Innovation Confidence Index. So how confident are they in their own ability to generate disruptive, breakthrough, game-changing ideas? And everybody in this group ranked low. At the end of the course, their innovation confidence skyrocketed. So it says that when you could take a material and create that kind of immersive, intense experience, you could transform. Now, the other objective of this was not just to build their innovation confidence, but could we, through the process of building that confidence, also create a pipeline of really high disruptive breakthrough ideas that could then be used to feed the innovation pipeline. So the ideas that were ranked highest from these 25 leaders generated from the workshop, we put those back in front of the C-level executives who sponsored the workshop. And what was shocking was is those high-ranking ideas were immediately selected by the C-level execs to go forward, to get funding, resources, encouragement, go make those happen. The C-levels described the ideas as what they called highly disruptive, and it's exactly what they were looking for. So not only did they get great feedback that the course material was good and it was interesting and that I was entertaining as an instructor, right? But that they could absorb it, they could apply it, and they had proof of that application because at the end of that workshop, they had ideas that they could go forward. One of the leaders who took the course, we do these survey feedbacks whenever we do training classes, described the day as, quote, learning disruptive ideation that generated disruptive ideas. Now, I don't think I could have crafted a better description of what it is we called it. In fact, just to let you in on the inside baseball, we called the course when we first taught it as Innovation Day. That's what this organization referred to it as. It was an Innovation Day. But we actually liked this feedback that we got from one of the students at the end of the day. So we named the workshop Disruptive Ideation. So it's not just about learning how to disrupt the way to ideate, but actually to generate ideas that are disruptive. So what do I mean by disruptive? Disruptive has a lot of terms and we apply it at different areas. The way we refer to it as causing or tending to cause disruption. It's innovative, groundbreaking, unconventional, unorthodox, off-center, unusual, unfamiliar, unprecedented, groundbreaking, pioneering, trailblazing, revolutionary, radical, advanced, newfangled, state-of-the-art. Whatever term you want to use, it's about coming up with ideas that are innovative and groundbreaking and unconventional and unorthodox and off-center, unusual and trailblazing and revolutionary and radical. And given that ideas are generated by people, having more people with the confidence to innovate will result in innovations that will create competitive advantage for this organization. So, why am I talking about this? This is not a sales pitch around, hey, use this workshop. We'll talk about things at the end of the show about how we can help you with your own workshops. But use the experience. We're going to spend the rest of this show today to share with you how this course came about. How was this course structured? What is the content in this course? So how did we create this one-day course and how you can think differently about training your teams, how to build that innovation confidence, how to build that innovation skill set within your organization. So we're going to open the kimono and share with you the course, the content, what worked, what didn't work, what would we do differently if we rewound it and went back to the beginning. And the important thing is, what are the insights we learned in creating this course? We spent a year really thinking long and hard about what should be in a one-day version versus coming off of the 4-day innovation boot camp. And so that's what we're going to discuss today. I'm going to walk you through how I created the course outline, and the course content. And just as important, all of the key elements that had the biggest impact on the overall success. Now, we've tested this course once. I'm just putting the parameters on it. We've tested elements of it. I've done, sections of it as part of one-on-one coaching sessions, etc. But this is we put it all together. We did it for these, 20 leaders inside of this organization. And I'll tell you, it was a long day. We started at 8:30. We ended at 5 o'clock. But I was standing literally the entire day because it was really me teaching the course. I had other people in the room to help with the exercises, etc. But I could tell you at the end of the day, one, I was tired, but two, I was just amazed at you could take this material, deliver it in a single day, and see measurable market leading impact from the standpoint of the confidence in these people that they could walk out of that room and apply that immediately the next morning when they got back to their desk or the next time they put their team together. The Disruptive Ideation Workshop is built around two major objectives. Objective number one, teach a disruptive approach to ideation, an approach that will radically increase the number and quality of the ideas that a person or team can generate. That's the ultimate. Number two, objective two is, through the process of learning, apply it to a real-world problem facing that organization, so at the end of the workshop, there are a ranked set of disruptive ideas that the organization can immediately take forward. And we needed to achieve both objectives. Teach a disruptive approach and generate disruptive ideas through the process of learning, and do this in a one-day course. Now, to teach this, we need to teach one, some basic background and some basic skills. And then two is apply those skills. And we had to think long and hard about what was included versus what we didn't teach. Because as I said in the last segment of the show, we could not take a 4-day course, 12-hour days, each of those 4 days, and just squeeze it down and keep everything in. We had to be very selective what we put into the course, what we didn't include in the course, what were the core basics that someone with no background in innovation needed to learn in order to be truly effective. So what we did is we took the course, so we broke it into two major sections. Section one is foundation. And we limited that to be about 90 minutes in length. We kept it really, really short. And in section two, we talked about skills and the application or practicing of those skills. Now, in the foundation section, we covered things like the myths and mysteries. Now, innovation myths, I've talked about this many times in the show. You can go over to killinnovations.com and search for it. But some of the common myths are the myth of a lone inventor, the myth that your boss knows more than you, the myth of the process. There's a whole series of innovation myths. And I always like to start any course I teach off talking about those myths, because otherwise they're the unspoken things that are kind of in the back of people's minds when they come into a workshop. They believe these myths, and unless you verbalize them, attack them, prove that they're not true, people will always have them running around like, oh, I got to learn the magic process, or I may have a great idea, but if my boss doesn't like it, he must know more than I do. All those things become negative and are blocking factors for anybody to improve their innovation confidence. So the first part under the foundation, myths and mysteries of innovation, we basically prove that there's no magic and the myths are false. And we're trying to do that to kind of tear down any blocks before we build up teaching the basic skills. The second part in the foundation piece is we teach some innovation skills. One is self-doubt, negative talk, not to do that, how to get out of that mode of thought of I'm not creative, I'm not innovative. We also talk about how do we spark your imagination? How do you get inspired? How do you think creatively? How do you kind of unleash yourself? The other is seeing with fresh eyes, right? So we've all, for those of us who've been in industries or technologies or marketplaces for an extended period of time, we tend to get ourselves into the rut. And so how do you look at things in with fresh eyes? So that's just a sampling of what we would teach, what we call basic innovation skills. These are things that would cause us to be more observant, open to new ideas, less, self-judgment, and use that as kind of a foundational piece, and important to get those in place, get people comfortable that yes, you can be creative, and you need to change in some cases how you look at problems and opportunities in different ways. The third area we teach in the foundation section is innovation antibodies. Look, we all run into the innovation antibodies. These are the people who tell us that, it'll never work. We've tried that before. We can't afford that. I'm the expert. Let me, no, we're not going to go that direction. Whatever it is, there's thousands of excuses that innovation antibodies will come up with. And as a result, you've got to be prepared to say that as you go through the process of creating an approach to do disruptive ideation, you're going to have people who are not going to like your ideas. And in fact, they may attack your ideas, and they may actually, in fact, attack you. And I've talked about this before, so it's on previous episodes. I've blogged about it, about dealing with rejection. In fact, there's an episode of 5 Minutes to New Ideas where I just focused on being rejected and criticized, and I tell the story of Renoir the painter. So hop on over to philmckinney.com. You can find it over there and check that out. But we teach about innovation antibodies, and we also give some tricks and tools on how to get around them. And then the fourth area we cover in the foundations piece is what we call the innovation framework. This framework, which is based on FIRE, is key to everything we will teach in this section 2. So this is an important piece. So we teach FIRE. This workshop, however, is just focused on the F, I, and R: focus, ideation, and ranking. The E part of FIRE, execution, is not one that lends itself to a one-day course. We're not going to go in and teach how to do prototypes and how to do market tests and validations and those kinds of things. The purpose of this is just ideation. How do I create the focus where I'm going to search? How do I ideate those ideas, and how do I rank them so that I know those are the ones I want to spend the time on? So focus, ideation, and ranking. These three elements are really the fuel for execution, for your innovation funnel, your innovation pipeline. Now, we kept this section short and to the point, about 90 minutes or so, enough to give them a foundation with not grinding them through a typical talking head course. We also covered adapt and adopt. And what do I mean by that? We emphasize that they should take what they will experience throughout this one-day course and feel comfortable to adapt those skills so that it works within their organization. Don't think that they get structured in a set of rules and I must do step 1, step 2, step 3. We want to build in that flexibility so it's easier for an organization or easier for a team to apply it. As I say in every course, you need to tailor your innovation approach. So research everyone, including what we're doing, and then steal from the best. And so this foundational piece is key. Next, we'll talk about section 2, which is really around how to teach those skills and give them exercises in those experience. In the second half of the Disruptive Ideation Workshop, we walk through each of the elements in FIRE: focus, ideation, ranking, and execution, and have exercises that allow them to apply that to a real problem statement. So skill number 1, focus. Focus is about defining the problem. Having a clear problem statement is absolutely critical. For instance, a bad problem statement would be, we need new product ideas. Now, a better problem statement would be, Our customer segment is shifting from X to Y, and as a result, we are being impacted a certain way. Okay, that's a better one. An excellent problem statement would be based on a BHAG, bold, hairy, audacious goal. President Kennedy, best BHAG ever created, was we will put a man on the moon before the end of the decade and return him home safely. You need a clear problem statement. Without a well defined problem statement, everyone will jump to generating ideas to solve something that is not clearly understood. In the bootcamp course, we spend a half a day having the teams craft their problem statement. For a 1 day workshop, you can't do that. So we did our homework with senior executives in the organization and crafted a draft problem statement. So the exercise was for the teams to review the draft and revise and edit. The goal was to have a problem statement that would be used throughout the rest of the day without the exercises. And this is important because whenever you're going to start an ideation effort inside your own organization, spend the time thinking about the problem statement. Famous Albert Einstein quote is if he was given 1 hour to save the world, he would spend 55 minutes defining the problem and 5 minutes solving it. So spend the time defining the problem. Skill number 2, ideation. So we walk through the use and power of the question to generate more and better ideas. And we demonstrate the use of the killer question card deck, and we give those out to everybody in the workshop. We set the ground rules for ideation, no judgment, no criticizing, etc. And then for the problem statement, exercise number 1 is what we call individual ideation. Everybody sitting at their table with post-it notes, crank out as many ideas as they can. Rules are no talking. At the end of that exercise, everybody takes those post-it notes, puts it up on a flip chart, and you group them together, the ones that are kind of common, duplicative, similar to. Then exercise number 2 is team ideation, which is looking at those ideas, pick an idea that is not yours and improve upon it. So that's team ideation. And what you'll find is when you run a workshop and you compare the output, team ideation will generate 50% more ideas than an individual just ideating on their own. So you want to practice team ideation. Skill number 3, ranking. Now, as I said many times, ideas without execution are a hobby. And I'm not in the hobby business. So ranking is about taking a large number of ideas generated and finding that top 2 or 3% of those ideas. And there's 2 ways to do that. Exercise number 1 is what we call the wow ranking. So if you remember back to the ideation, skill number 2, you now have these post-it notes on a flip chart, and they're kind of grouped and together. What we call wow ranking is we basically give everybody 5 dots. So team member number 1 gets 5 red dots, someone else gets 5 yellow, someone else gets 5 green, 5 blue, whatever colors. You're given 5 dots. In the wow ranking, people walk up to that flip chart, they take their dots, and they vote on the best idea. Not the grouping. We want it to be attached specifically to one of the post-it notes. So that idea in this ranking is the best core of that idea. Now you could put all of your dots on one chart, or you could spread them across, or you could put 2 on one and 1 on another. However you want to do that, you get 5 dots, however you want to use it. Some ground rules that we've learned over the years. You are not allowed to move somebody else's dots. You'd be amazed at how often that happens. Why? I've never gotten my head around it, but it happens. So now what you do is you take the top ideas based on the vote counting. In the case of a 1-day workshop, we just said top 5 ideas. So the top 5 ideas based on the dot voting or the wow votes. For each of those top 5 ideas, then we do what's called criteria ranking. In this exercise, we're given a set of questions to rank against. Now, again, if you listen to the show or you've been listening to the show for quite some time, you know I talk a lot about ranking. There's When I was CTO at Hewlett Packard, we had 5 questions that we created to do the ranking of ideas that were being submitted. So whatever your criteria is, we use those ranking questions. We created a set of ranking questions specific for this organization, and then we use them for the criteria ranking. And when you find out, when you have 5, 6, 7, 8 people, in this case, it's 5 people on a team. There's 4 teams, 5 persons to a team, and they went through the ranking exercise. They each tallied their own scores up individually, and then they put them together and added them up. And therefore, they had a score for each of the ideas. And then you put them in rank order. And what you find is that the top couple of ideas, wow, distinctly higher scores. And the less ranked ideas, there's a gap, and then all the rest of them that are below. What this does is it teaches you a skill to filter the ideas to get to the ones that are going to have and meet kind of that ranking criteria, right? So in the case of the 5 that questions I typically use are, things like, will this change the customer expectation? Will this change the economics of the industry, et cetera? Hop on over to Killer Innovations and you can search for it. So those are the 2 exercises, while ranking and criteria ranking. Number 4, execution. You can't walk through the entire process of executing an idea. We don't have enough time in a one-day workshop to teach things like minimum viable product planning or prototype building, etc. So what we do want to focus is on taking the raw ideas of ranking and putting more thought behind it. So we teach what we call Lean Innovation Canvas. It's a 1-page document. You can whip through it pretty quickly. And then we have a second exercise where we actually prepare for the ask, how to think about funding people and time, and how do you present that to a senior executive. Now, that's a lot to cover in one day. So that's section 1 and section 2. The course is more than 150 slides with nearly 24 handouts, worksheets, and exercises for the one-day course. So what are the lessons learned? 1, it felt rushed. Would the course be better if it was 1.5 days? Maybe, but 1 day is a unit of time that people can easily take time out from. The problem statement, absolutely critical. Spend the time to get it right. 3, limit a reasonable number of students, 20 max. Need a high level of support and interaction. Number 4, establish clear next steps, such as we will take the top 3 ideas and share them with the C-level exec who is sponsoring this course. Plug them into a community so that the learning and excitement don't die down after the course amongst themselves, but we also invite them to join the Innovators.community so that they can join in and be around other people who have a similar common language and a similar common passion around ideas. So that's basically the outline for the course. Like I said, it did feel very rushed. I'm also feeling rushed today trying to cover all of this in one show. If you're interested in finding out more about the Disruptive Ideation Workshop, etc., send an email to workshop@theinnovators.network. Again, that's workshop@theinnovators.network. I'll have a link in the show notes so you can hop over to Killer Innovations. If you are an innovation consultant, coach, trainer, and you're interested in using the course slides, exercises, etc., drop an email to the same email address, workshop@theinnovators.network. Like I said, course materials all put together. We'll be teaching another set of students at this organization here in another, month or 2, I guess. And we'll continue to revise and improve that. But if you're, again, our consultant, coach, or trainer, check it out. Hope you found this useful as you think about how to train your team and organization to be disruptive in their innovation output. Go out and disrupt your approach to ideation so that you can create ideas that disrupt. With that, we're going to wrap up today's show. Check out the show notes over at killerinnovations.com. Love to hear from you. Drop me a note, phil@killerinnovations.com, or hop over to the innovators.community. That's where I hang out. Love to chat with you. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Podcasting nonstop since 2005, This has been the Killer Innovation Show on the Innovators Network.
This show is distributed by the Innovators Network. For more information and other great shows and content, visit theinnovators.network.